Hello, as the beginning before your spring break. So here will be your before the spring break lecture and of our web programming and interface. And for today, in the previous lectures, like in the video showing you, okay, how can we install the React? Okay, how to about our Happy.js server, and then how can we connect the MongoDB? So it's a whole structure. And then for this one, when we move on, I will like go through slightly a technical, like some language related to the Node.js. Okay, and of course, later you may the second part is you're going to like if you're using your maybe on your AWS EC2, or if you're running on your virtual server, virtual machine running on it, then you may need to configure it. Okay, some like handling the forward. So I will go for this part. So before, so you have sometimes like to before you start your project, you have sometimes like prepare. So that one about engineering is at PM. Okay. So when we move on, so this one we talk about the JavaScript ES6. Okay. So that one is comes out. So it's called the ECMA script. Okay. So after the 2015. So we pretty common is the ES6, or sometimes we call it ES6 plus. That means they do a new more like new version. Of course, in later, I also like include what's the new features they provided. Okay. And based on the change of the new syntax, so they will have some more powerful advanced feature. So we can make it the JavaScript like easier to use, and then we can more function. So it's the benefit we can going to use it. And mainly is the one you see a lot, like when we try to define one thing, is called the let keyword. Okay, the let keyword allows to declare block a scope variable. Okay, so with characteristic compare, sometimes if you look at the sample code, you see the constant, but let will be allow you to like reassign the value. So, but this one will limit to the block which is defined. So if you need to change it to like global or something, we have other methods. But this one will be like based on your within your block. Okay, so it's not really using globally. And then sometimes if you see how it declare, because when you learn JavaScript, if you no idea, we use the var, okay, but now that we change like constant for like constant value and for let value to describe the block scope variables. Okay. Right here will be the example source code right here. So if we declare a variable right here using let x equals to 10, okay, and then we have a condition if true, so whatever, it doesn't matter. And when we declare one more let x equals to 20, so this time you will see the value change to 20. Okay, if you lock it outside the block, okay, it will change to 10. So I would like to execute, copy this one. Okay. So if you're interested, we can try to like save it, and I just like put it as a test.js and put it under 10. Okay, explain just quick update. And if you are watching, and then if you want to like have some practice, you may follow it. Okay, so actually all this like always a good habit is try to observe. Okay, observe from all these sample code, and then also you can like see, okay, what's the differences, like instead of looking at them and just like follow the video. So I will really recommend you to like try by yourself. Okay, like maybe look at the code and then check the behavior, what's the output. Okay, so when you use it, then it will be better like to use. Okay, so right now let me change it to the private temp, and then I can run the node test.js. Okay, so you see the value inside, like inside the block, so will be 20, and outside is 10. Okay, so it's pretty pretty similar to the if you're learning maybe Java or other languages, they would get. Okay, so it's outside, and it's more like object based. Okay, so if you know the Python JS, like some value they especially Python, so they're pretty similar idea. So they design as object related. Okay, so if you design like x equals to 10, or later you can declare x equal to a string. Then you may ask like, okay, if I change it to a string, then can I change it to something else like string? Okay, like this. It is okay. Then I may ask like, how do you think? What's the value? So let's execute. So is that good habit? Okay. So it's an object related. So it's not really rely on the type of the variable. Okay, data type. Okay. So it's more like object related. Okay. So there's a special from what you learn from like let's say learning C++ or like Java. Okay, other language like you have to really declare your variable type, but for this one, it's more like object related. It's more dynamic detection. Okay, and another when we say it's a const. Okay, you see a lot in the keyword. So we usually declare some constant. They cannot be assigned. Okay, so these are characteristic of it. So it must be initialized at the time of the declaration, and also it's that block scope. Okay, so once you declare, let's say we always have pi 3.14. Okay, so if you need to assign the new value, it will have an error message, and it will come it's not allowed. So you may try it. So that's the characteristic of a keyword constant. Okay, if you need to declare something not going to change, because sometimes in the example, you will see, okay, we use the constant to keep the value, and then we will execute a loop. Okay, so if you put in by mistake using const instead of let, then you are not able to assign a new value. So you cause a certain error. Okay, so you need to like be careful and pay attention. And the one extra about the syntax is called arrow function. So it's more like consists like syntax for writing function. You will see a lot in the example new format. So you will be we're going to use it. So they do not have their own this one. Okay, so we need to like omit the brace or return statement using single expression function is all okay. So here's the kind of like called the arrow function. So we declare as a constant. So it's a function name, okay, equals to, and then we put the bracket right here, bracket, so open close, and then pass the parameter. And with the arrow, so you see the arrow. So they should be like put in together. So if you're writing, so you need to make sure the arrow function, they are like coming together. And like you see the arrow, they always are putting close together, and then they will perform certain attribute. You have certain output, okay, and this output will return as a result. So it will execute and adding them together. Okay, so let me save it and execute this one. Okay, so you see return 5. So we're passing to it. Okay, so of course I can change the syntax a little bit. Like if you ask, okay, if I need to do several things like perform certain statements or anything, so we can change it to return. Okay. Also, it's a possible syntax. We can do it. So let's say if we are passing A and B, but we need to like check the condition, like if A is let's say A is greater than B, then you will do something, or like else you do something else, or like then you return different value. So if you are doing this, probably you need to like using out if and return. So you can do it in this way. So this one is the arrow function. Okay. If you have a really simple straightforward return value, then you can put it like this with the curly bracket. Okay. And if you do have say other statement condition, okay, you need to have other tasks you need to perform, then you cannot do it in single line. Then you can add the curly bracket right here. So everything, and then remember to put the return value. Sometimes you may have a return value or with the return value, so it doesn't matter. So you can put it as an ending the function. You can just like finish it without anything, just delete it, or if you can put a return, so it can put a return nothing. Okay, so sometimes like depends how you declare or how you use this function. Okay, or like you can execute like we do need to some any processes, so we can pass x itself. Okay, if you passing a single value, then you just like x, and then it would be the multiple of itself. 4 times 4 will be 16, like this. Okay, square of it. And then we have called destructing assignment. Okay, destructing assignment AB. Okay, so we have the operator equal to something. So this one allows to unpack the value from the object. so into a distinct variable. So it's pretty helpful. So it can make our code like cleaner and reduce certain like redundancy. So it will be much more helpful. Let's say if we have the constant value variables like a person, and then we pass a name and age, right? So if this is a list, we can pass. Once we pass the person, name and age, okay, and the first variable is name, it will get the name, and the second variable will be the age. So it feature. Okay, so if we have the called the person list, we have the list like have a multiple value like this, and then if we passing all these like maybe as an array, okay, for loop, and then go like from the first item to the last item, and after the item I want to list their name and their age separately, then we can do it in this way. Okay, so and then we just like pass array. And as what I'm saying right here, so if I have multiple like maybe I have to call the constant person list, okay, so I have a list, and within a list I can have a name and then also the age. So the syntax will be the same. Okay, maybe I just like copy directly from here. Okay. Okay, and then something I want to let it looks like more well organized. I prefer doing it this way. Okay. Maybe I will pick the, okay, and then 22 like this. Okay. And if I have a loop, like let's say I want to get the name, that would be the first one, second one, person list. Oh, it's the second one. Okay, so I can get the name and age of first one. Okay, of course we can write a loop like for in loop. Okay, so if we remember the looping that way, so it would be a possible way to do it. So it's called a destructing assignment. Okay. And then we have got the spread and then the rest operator. So if we need to like to use for both, maybe like rest of the content or like for the spread operator, so we can like gather all those remaining arguments into an array, then we can use it. So what's the meaning? So same structure right here. Here's a function. Okay, equal sign. So you should be like familiar with this part with the arrow function, right? So we return certain value, and here will be rest. That means from the numbers is array, and then with dot. So it's called the operator. So you see right here. Okay, the spread. Okay, so for the we're getting all the remaining value, and numbers dot reduce will be the least we see. As one of the function we will use a lot. If you learn Python, you may see something in before including the reduce map. Okay, or sometimes others functions we may use, but later when you see some example, you will know more. Okay, so right here we have accumulate value and then passing each number. So we're adding it together and then we're giving a default value 0. Okay, so we're adding them together. So once we pass the function sum, okay, and then with the list. So here's the list. So they will get all these parameters, say all value together, and using reduce function. The reduce function is we can accumulate all the value for the first parameter and then giving the default value right here, the syntax, and then add it to the accumulator. Pass this one value. So you just imagine this function. Let me copy it. I can break down to one you pretty familiar with. Okay. So this one, that means that I assume that I create the let, so equal to 0, right? And then I have an array. So let's say for loop, I can use the for in loop, okay, or let's use like I equals 0, and then okay, and then I is less than the maybe the value, we call it the numbers, right? Numbers. So assume right here numbers, the length, okay, and then I plus a plus, okay, right here, and because the accurate adding the value and some of the same idea like adding I. Okay, so this time in that I will call it like num and then num. Okay, so here would be num. Let me create I so I can do it in this. Because this one I showing using an index. Because actually we have the another value is called the for in loop and can getting the value. But this one just like showing it more simple, and we can do it in this way. So it will be I. So it will be like this. Okay. And then if I for in loop, we can use a let num in numbers. Okay, so this one is the same way, and then ACC will be the accurate value, and then plus num. Okay, so we can write it in this way. So this one will be have a same result. So no matter we're using a reduce, and then or like using two format, you writing array or using like for in loop. So either one is like they do a exactly same thing. So it's like a spread and rest operator. And also we can continue the value. So right here we can expand an array to individual element too. So let's say we have the numbers array. Okay, if I want to add more value, so we can start from like adding 0 and 4, right? And then if we're using a sprint and rest operator, so we'll concatenate them together. If you don't use this one, they will only put in a subarray. So you can try it like this one. Okay, take it away. And then let me execute. Okay, so then I will ask a question. If we don't put the numbers, okay, how would this one look like? So we see it's the nested array. Okay, so the second one is the 2D. Okay, so here's the differences. Okay, so once you add the spread, okay, and it will concatenate together. So if you are writing, you need to like combine two arrays together to become combine them to one array. Then you are better to use the spread and rest operator. Okay. And if you want to like combine this one as well, say, okay, combine like the quarter 1, 2, 3, 4 together to form a one array, then you can do it in this way. Okay. And also we have the for loop. And the for loop we can like for in loop and for off loop. Okay. And then for off loop is like allow us to iterate over the objects. Okay. So this one will be the array or string, either one's okay. So it's like we can simplify the iteration and improve the readability. So it's like in off. Okay, so let me copy this one. So if we are using off, that means we can get the value like I want to say okay. In different program language, we have different way to show. Okay, so of course, right here, and then this one is called the for off loop. Okay, and then we have the map function. Okay, so the map is like called the key value pair. So it's more like for hashing. Like sometimes if we use the hash or like something like that. So this one is called a map object. Okay, this map object, it comes together. So we need to create a map and then set the value. Okay, so once you want to check, you can use a map get or the size. Okay, so let's try to execute. If you try to implement certain function or doing maybe solve some leak code question using the Node.js, if you prefer to as a main language you use, it will ask you if you want to increase the speed. Okay, so like for SS, if we can like have an array, and then once we set the value, first one is your key, and the second will be your value. Okay, so it can be string, numbers, or any other content. So once you set it, we can use get function to get it. And sometimes if we can like go to check, like if we can get this value, then I'm not going to save it. Okay, we don't have to use set. But if you it doesn't exist, that means like if I want to like use get, okay, if the value is true, then I'm not do anything, but it doesn't exist before that I can use a map set function like set this value. So it can allow us to like access faster. Okay, and then we can use the size to check the content. Okay, but this one like really depends on how you're going to use in your project or like for some situation. Okay, but it's a pretty powerful and useful map object, so we can use it. And then pretty similar to map object, but this one is called a set object. For the set object, so it will be a collection of the unique value. Okay, so if you create a set, so your new set is having 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, and then we will check like do we have the set is like do we contain has that value? So we use the keyword function called has. Okay, we check do we have it. So we return true. Okay, and or like add the value set dot add. Okay, we can adding the value. So this one, it can help us like, we already have this one in our, but we can check, right? If we have this one, we are not going to like add it into our set. Okay, so it may help like to keep it unique. Okay, and if you already have it, then you are not able to like edit. So you're okay. So that's why you see the size. If I even checking adding full, and then you will see. And I would like to show you right here. Okay. So before I add 4, and then after I add 4, okay. I show you the size one more time. Okay. Let me execute it. So we see before I F4, you show 3. So it's like called unit. So no matter how many sets you have, it will check. So it does exist, then I'm not going to add it. Okay, so that means it's always unique. And if you check the size, you know the characteristic, and you see all the big O notation. Okay, so representing it will be big O1. Always the SS will be 1. Okay, so it will count faster, even for the mapping, for the map function. Okay, so this like map object is also is like big O is equal to 1. And when we need to like create a class, and then it's kind of similar to the our Java. Okay, Java. So create a class, and also we have a constructor. So here same idea. So we create the object, handle the inheritance. Okay. So we can like pass the constructor, and then we will give some function. Okay, so we can use this function that pointing to this one. Okay, our class, and we can access the value. So here will be how the example how we create the class. And then once you pass the parameter age, okay. So if you need to handle other parameter, then you need to like create a constructor. So maybe I only pass in the name, only pass in the age, then pretty similar to Java. If you know the Java, then it will be like pretty easy, like similar. Okay, how we going to use it? And another one we already cover about showing using a promise asynchronous await. So it's the same idea. So we can show it for eventual completion of an asynchronous operation. Okay, so when we create a promise, that means we are waiting for the data, and then once we receive it, okay. So we are not because since when we like post it, maybe it's not able to like compute it within your taking another statement. So we have to wait, and then wait until we receive the data, and then we can save it. So it will be way better. Okay. So if you are not like using a promise, you always get the null value. Okay, because you are not yet wait until they finish the execution, then you already complete your function. And also we have something symbols like representing. So it will be a unique and immutable like data type. So primarily used for the object property key. So we can like represent a unique hidden identifier. So we have no other codes can be accidentally like extend to the access by others. So if we create the object, so you know the object, and then we have the name, first name, age. But if we try to give a symbol, so when we pass a symbol, like sometimes I giving an ID. Okay, so when I pass the ID as a value, yes, I can do. But when you using the dot notation, it's not called undefined, because it's not belongs to this like object content. So you couldn't see any ID. But when we create the symbol, then you can access it using a bracket like this way, and that's called a symbol. And of course, we can pass the default parameter. That means that if I'm not going to pass anything, then I want to keep the default value, okay, or the default value for the function parameter. Then we can say like you can assign name equals to something, okay. So if you know the syntax, like if I put in name, of course name, but if put the equal sign and then assign with the default value, then you can always get the default like this, okay. If you passing the parameter, then it won't affect. So it will be replaced with the real parameter. So it's called the default one. So we can, how can we assign? Just put the equal sign right here. Okay, within a bracket, and then you see it's also it's the same. It's an arrow function. So you will see everywhere it's using arrow function. Okay, and also we have the called the function with rest parameter. Okay, so this one is like how can we get the remaining function argument to array? So if we have like try to create called a concatenate function, and then we giving a separator, and then we are giving the string, okay, concatenate together, then this string will be joining using the separator, okay. And once we show it, and it will be the content. So let's execute this part. And you will see how this one is working. So actually combining what you learned before, like showing here, let me execute it. No, pass, okay. So you see, okay, hello world and comma, okay. I'm giving the appropriate, you see right here, so it's coming, concatenating them together using the comma. Right here I'm using separator. The separator is the comma, okay, and then with the string, so all these are string. So this one is got the range of the parameter, so we can connect them. So we can use the call the join function to join them together using the separator, okay. And then of course, others maybe we can pretty similar. We can like, let's say I'm passing the sum, so I'm passing a lot. So you can see an argument. So some value and then let if you remember the for of loop, okay, for and then using let. The reason why we're using that because we always are changing the value. We are not using a constant and then argument of this one, and then we're adding them together and return some value, okay. So it's like how it looks like. So it functions. So when passing, then you don't have to care how long is this parameter. Okay, maybe n equals to 5. That means like 5 parameters, or n equals to 100 parameters. It doesn't matter. So we can like change it to array. Okay, and nest them together, and then you can using the for of. So we don't have to really know the length, actual length. Okay, so it's the benefit using this type of parameter. So when we quickly like go through all these keywords, so it's like constant error function, we are going to use some destructing, okay, for the variables assignment, and then also the using the for of loop, and actually there's one that is using for in loop instead for the index, okay, and then also the map, and then the set. So we use a lot like for hashing, and then how can we create a class, and how can you synchronize a promise function symbol for the class, and then also be using for the spread rest will be like dot to nesting to get the default value and rest parameter. So all this pretty quick go through like for the logic. So after we commit our structure, and then later I will have some lectures like cover all this like some language related to Node.js, okay. During the spring break, I think I need to give it some time and let you be ready. So one I need to introduce like for the backend. So one is called the Nginx. Nginx is like using for the HTTP like web server. So it can like reverse policy and some use for content cache. Okay, load balancer. Okay, also we can handle different type like TCP, UDP server, or we can use to handle the mail proxy. So a lot. So it's more lightweight and pretty useful. And another one we going in for caching is called a PHP FPM. So it's under the PHP, okay. And it's like for caching. What you need to do from the DigitalOcean, once you search, the keyword I'm using is called the maybe if you're using the Ubuntu, okay. If you're using the AWS EC2 server or using your virtual machine, okay, it doesn't matter. Depends on which one you're using, but we can all install the application and service together. So I can choose, let's say I pretty popular is using DigitalOcean. I choose the DigitalOcean, and always there's a guideline and all the steps like one by one showing all the steps how can we install the Nginx. So I would recommend you can follow. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward after you're able to access to your server. And then we can start with like using apt update. We try to like update our source list. So after update our source list, we execute apt install Nginx. Okay, so Nginx. So once you install Nginx, we need to set in certain firewall. Okay, and UFW is the one of the controlling the firewall. Once we enable, we can allow the Nginx. Some guidelines showing, okay, you can allow the Nginx stay HTTP, but sometimes just allow Nginx full, okay, because it will include HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so on your server side, you need to remember when you enable your firewall, you have you need to also enable the OpenSSH. So you need to make sure once you allow the Nginx full, I will recommend using full. And when you check your status, you should able to see that OpenSSH and Nginx full. So you don't have to like using HTTP, because later you need to change add your HTTPS. Like also we are using the let's encrypt to like change to TLS, like adding a TLS SSL to enhance your security, like for communication. Okay, for this one is like for setting. So after you successfully like install it, maybe you can access through your IP address, or like if you install your local host or like virtual machine, when you access it, you see the welcome page like to the Nginx, it will be the default. Okay, and for the LAMP is like recommend like Linux, and then MySQL is one database. For you, you may be using the MongoDB, so you can just skip this part, the MySQL. But if you are interested, look at it. How can you install the regular relational database? Of course, you can just use an APD install MySQL server, or MariaDB is okay. One of these people, lots of people using the MariaDB, so all the syntax will be the same. And when we try to enhance the security, we will install the MySQL secure installation. So this one will go through like asking, do you want to change the root password? Maybe well, no, or do you want to change like change the password like security? Sometimes in the beginning, I'm not going to do that. You can press no, but I'm not going to change the password. And they will actually, do you want to remove the remote access like root, or do you want to remove like for testing the database? Yes, then you can delete. Okay, so all good. So once you enter the MySQL, so you're finish this part, and then will be the FPM. You can use either like APD install PHP FPM. It would be fine. So you don't have to like clarify the version. So if you execute like APM like this, so it will be okay. So you can use that like also this one, a PHP MySQL we can serve. Like if you're not using MySQL, then you don't have to install it. So we can like install the called PHP FPM. So it will grab the latest version. Right now should be 8.3. Okay, but once you need to restart the service, then you need to clarify the version CTL, and then if you need to restart it, let's say start it on PHP, let's say 8.3-FPM. So you need to like clarify the version. Okay. So here's the slightly tricky part. So after you finish all this, and you need to put your files, of course, later. So I will show you like, there's something, how can we create a directory? And then right now we are, I'm guessing most of you maybe switch the widget, okay, to create your project. Then you need to build your file. And after you build your file, so you have some like some output files. We will upload all these files to our maybe your EC2 server or your virtual server. It doesn't matter. That depends on which way you're going to use. And then we try to assign. Okay, so we change like say change the ownership. So we can give a maybe the user, maybe the group. Sometimes I would prefer like assign user is my user account, and then giving the group will be the data. Okay, so sometimes I'm using, let's say I change to do change the owner. I will be the recursion. Let's say me yoga, and then giving the data. So this one will have a right to do access the directory dash like this CSCI 380 like this. Okay, so that means I giving myself and then the group data. So this one is like also Nginx would belongs to this group, so they can access to your data. So you remember, like you need to be careful. And then another part, after you install the Nginx, you need to like change your the configuration. But because this one I'm showing you, so this one of the example, and of course I sometimes I would delete the default file. Okay, so I need to unlink it from the enable and then edit available. So here's a clear concept. So the files inside are available under Nginx. Okay, this one will be a configuration, everything. And then we need to link it to the site enable. So you see the command line right here. We will like try to link it to the site enable. So Nginx will fetch the configuration from the site enable, but from enable folder is referred to the available folder. So you need to make it clear, okay? And then we can using unlink to remove certain like link file in under default enable, okay? So just say you need to be careful about this part. And also we need to have a good practice, like using maybe system reload Nginx. So we are not like always restart it, okay? But for more details, I will cover in the lab, okay? I will make video. But in this moment, you need to learn how can you how to install it, okay? Make it like go online. So once you prepare for this part, then later we can like do it together, okay? And by default, there's several content we need to pay attention. There's a server block, so it will start always like with the server, and then we're listening to the port. Okay, so pretty common for HTTP will be 80. So we start with the listening port 80. But if we need to enhance the security, we will change it to like using Let's Encrypt and then open port 443. Okay, with SSL, and then we're giving the server name. Okay, so this one will be your domain or some IPs, and then it will be different with non-www or with www will be different, okay? Or sometimes we will add the redirection, okay, changing, but later I will give you the configuration files, okay? And then we will giving the default looking for what kind of like index files. Sometimes you see that index.html, htm, or PHP files. And then we have the root directory. Where should they go to grab the files, okay? And then location, default content. And if we remember for our like talking about Happy.js like installing, so if we handle passing a proxy and then using stash like API, then we can pass the data. And you see right here the location PHP, we're including the PHP. This one is a pretty outdated, but you need to change it to 8.3 FPM. So we're adding the cache called a fast CGI pass, and then here will be all the basic stuff. And we can use the sudo nginx to test it. If once the configuration shows like okay and successful, that means your configuration all good. Then we use the reload. So we try to reload the configuration instead of restart this service. So after we complete it, then we can have our own serving for this website, and then you can pass the testing. In the later, I will make a video so showing. And also after come back from the spring break, assignment, this like part you need showing how can you connect to your API server with the communication, and then like can you like connect to your MongoDB database. It's a kind of like pretty big part of what in your lab. So if you're able to complete this part, then I believe you are able to complete your project. Okay, so I will also like create the group for me, so you can like do it as a group, or like if you think you're okay to handle like the front end, let me create a website. Also, you can implement the server side or database. And yes, if you think you are able to do all this by yourself, if you need to form a group, then you can, yes, sure, I will open the group so you can apply. Okay, and then to create a web page by yourself. And so far we'll be stop by right here. And if you have any difficulty like for set up all the rest of it, I know like after once we start to work on the server side, like how can you install the IPJS on your server side, and how can we configure Nginx redirecting and then running the server API server online? How can we get the data, connect to a database, return value to your website with it? Then it's kind of like challenging. So I will do the demonstration, okay, to you, okay. And that's it for this video. Thank you.